Morning, guys. Today I just wanted to do a video about how my life has changed since the Blackout tattoos journey has begun. One of my first ever videos on YouTube was actually an Instagram video, and it was called A Changing World. I don't expect most people have watched that video. It's got very few views, and it's honestly terrible. But then again, it is what it is. It's an honest, quick minute-long video about my feelings on how tattoo discrimination, piercing discrimination has changed in the workplace and kind of society's eyes in general, how things have changed, the outlook. But when I did that video, it was largely before I'd gotten into blackout tattoos. That at that point, I think I only had my right arm blacked out, and I'd had it blacked out for probably about a year or two, because as I've said before, I blacked out my right arm much sooner than anything else. It was kind of the worst part of my suit, in my opinion, and it was the part to start with. So my views on the topic have changed ever so slightly since I've done most of the blackout. How my life has changed since I blacked out, we'll start with the general confusion of the public. My family included. Some people have watched me go through the years of getting tattooed and having images that look like something to them. And then you black out all of those after wearing them only for a fairly short amount of time where relate to tattoos. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially if you're someone who only has a few or no tattoos, because you might hang a picture of, say, something you like a dragon or a rose or something, on your wall or decorate your house with it, but you wouldn't necessarily decorate your house with a big block of black. Now, the way I get around that question has always been, or the insinuation that that's not art because you wouldn't hang it on a wall or something like that, is yes, but you would paint the wall black and then you would hang pieces on it, right? So the black can be like an aesthetic or a background for it. So there's been a bit of a confusion over the lack of general imagery. Even though I do not have a full blackout, it's constantly insinuated that I'm fully blacked out. Even though I have several tattoos still. I have obviously you can't see it now, but when I'm bald, and I'm often bald, you can see I have a head tattoo, I have a back tattoo, I've got my bum cheeks tattooed, I've got my thighs tattooed still, I've got my chest and eyeball tattoo. See, even in the phraseology of that, it should intuit as a tattoo when you have black tattoos. When you have a blackout tattoo, that should be seen as a tattoo, but it's not. So theoretically, you could assume that someone who would make a comment like, oh, blackout isn't a tattoo, they could literally be seeing me getting tattooed at a tattoo shop, and mid-tattoo say to me, you're not getting a tattoo, you're just hurting yourself, you're just covering mistakes, you're just getting, this is just a regret or something stupid like that. Theoretically, in that person's eyes, what I'm engaging in that moment is not a tattoo session, which is hilarious to me. I often think of waving at people you can tell that don't get it, being like, hi, I'm not getting a tattoo, I'm just getting black. Like something like that. Because in a lot of people's eyes, it doesn't make sense. Now, I will say, the internet to me has always provided me, in the last few years anyway, a window into the thoughts of most people. Now, that being said, I don't mean to say that the internet, it shows off our best parts of our nature, but what it does is it gives everyone a microphone and the ability to say what they might say in person if they weren't afraid to, because they have that glass separating us. So what I get a lot of online is either a lot more support Like, there's a lot more love than there used to be. There is. People used to give me lots of love before with the old tattoos, but it's magnified. But the hate is much larger and much more fervent than it was for my old tattoos. So, what it seems to do, and no pun intended, contrast. It contrasts people. It polarizes people more than anything else that I've done with piercings or tattoos. If you love it, you really love it. And if you hate it, not only do you hate it, but that person's an idiot. They're covering mistakes, and they have no, they're boring. They have no imagination. Like, theoretically, instead of getting a black hand tattoo, in some people's eyes, I could have just as well got the words boring. And then on this hand, unimaginative. And then on this arm, I have no ideas. And on this arm, this isn't a tattoo. And those would be better tattoos in these people's eyes because they would be of an image. I'm sorry, I'll get off that rant. I find that very funny that blackout tattoos don't count as tattoos to some people when you consider how much more painful they can be, how much more effort they can be, and how bad they can look if they're not done well. That's another thing. I didn't realize, and I don't think anyone would realize until they get started, or unless you're a tattoo artist that's done them. But blackout tattoos can go really, really wrong. I've had my only 2 infections in the tattoo world during blackout tattoos. One was on my hand and one was on my foot. And both of those they could have killed me. I would think that those infections, if not treated properly, probably could have killed me. That being said, I'm not saying, oh, geez, be afraid of tattoo infection, it can kill you, and don't get tattooed. But what I'm saying is the risks of getting extensive black work done are a lot more prevalent if you work in a dirtier area like I do, or not dirtier, but full of bacteria. Like I work as a cook. I've been a cook for 15 years. You're at a higher risk of infection with more surface covered, with more trauma done to the skin. All it takes is one little spore to get in there, and before long you've got a full-blown infection. So that's happened to me twice. I am going to do a separate video. I did one long ago about my tattoo infections, but I'll get into that in a greater detail another stage. As far as employment concerns, a tattoo is a tattoo. That is where blackout or red ink or anything else I've worn hasn't changed anything. An employer sees tattoos. They don't see what those are. So the blackout hasn't changed or impacted my ability to find work. And in fact, I am in a unique situation perhaps because I'm so good at what I do, and no bragging, it's just a fact, and I've been doing it so long that it's very easy for me to get jobs in my field. Now, I'm not saying what I do is necessarily glamorous, but what I would say is to anyone that's interested in pursuing a lifetime of tattooing and piercing, to develop a skill set that doesn't matter what you look like. That can be done in varying fields. But anyway, more on the blackout changes. As I said, I've never had more love and more hate. And the hate is quite visceral because people will even try and cancel you. Like I've had people try and associate me, and I've never had this with any other tattoo, that's for sure, with racist. Somehow the blackout tattoos can be racist. Or as I said in another video, they can either be racist or pro-black. But it's neither. It's not even the same skin color. It's black like this shirt, you know, it's black as in the shade. It's not got anything to do with race. I get so many people who say, boy, that guy really wants to be black or something like that. And it's like, maybe they think they're being funny, but it's honestly a little disgusting. It's stupid, and I don't understand the connection. I really don't. It's a shade. It's been a thing. It's been a shade forever. We've always worn black clothing. You know, like we've always gotten black tattoos. Like all the ink that was originally used in prisons was black ink. It's just, this is more of it. It's never been associated with anything else. I don't really understand that necessarily, because for me it's more about like a gothic thing, or like a all black everything kind of thing. But anyway, I could rant on that for a long time. So yeah, it hasn't changed anything like that. My partner, my wife, if anything, likes my blackout tattoos more than she liked my old tattoos, because I think that some of the old tattoos I had were a bit too kiddie for me, to be honest. They were a bit more of a youngster's idea of what tattoos should look like. Less evolved and less adult, in my opinion. This is more workable and livable. So that's a few things. Another one is, people ask me all the time if the sun affects me, if I burn still, or if I burn more. And the answer is, I burn way easier. I get way hotter, way quicker in the sun. The sun, to me, is like a lethal weapon these days. I don't even chance it. Like, I don't even think about, oh, if I put enough sunscreen. No. Anywhere that I can cover up with clothing, I'm covered up with clothing. Like, I'll wear hoodies in summer. I never wear shorts out in the blazing sun, because it's like a death sentence for me. Sorry. Yeah. The sun is, basically, think like if you've ever seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer vampires, where they hit the sun and their skin starts to burn and they melt eventually. That's kind of how it goes for me. But yeah, those are just a few of the changes of how it's been since I blacked out. Would I go back? That's a question I get all the time. If I knew now what I knew then, or if I knew then what I knew now, would I go back to my old suit after all the hundreds of hours that I've spent blacking out, after knowing that blackout is a constant evolving process? That's another one. You always need to touch blackouts up, or else they start to look shabby. All tattoos fade, but when black tattoos fade, and you notice it more because you have such a big body of one black, that if parts of it are faded, your eye goes right to it. If I had have known all this before I started, would I continue this way? Would I go back? And my answer is, I wouldn't change a thing. I have no regrets, as they say, the common internet thing. I don't regret any of it. And in fact, I would have probably gotten started with this a little earlier. I probably wouldn't have finished some of my other suit if I had known how much more I was going to enjoy this, and how much more fulfilling this would be to me. Because you don't really realize until you get your first blackout tattoo just how addictive the process is. The feeling of getting the blackout tattoos isn't great, but there's a consistency and a frequency to it. The mag groupings that you're using, that you can't key in as well with any other style of tattooing. And it becomes like you're very attuned to the process of it. And seeing that solid black, and when it peels and it's still solid black, that's a great feeling. There's a lot of risk reward with this. And I think that that's a huge part of body modification for me. And a huge part of the drive for it is the effort that it takes to get the results that you want. So I don't think that there's any other type of tattooing that takes that level of commitment, honestly, that I know of. I know of a lot of styles where you just go and you get it, and then you just let it go. Like, once it's done, you don't really need to get it touched up if you don't want to. And it will fade, but like, for example, American traditional tattoos are considered to look really good when they're faded. And I agree with that. I think that they look better when they're old and they've been worn for 10 years than they do when they're fresh. I don't think that of black work. So this is a lifelong maintenance for me to keep my blacks black. And that's the kind of tattoo that I need anyway, because if I don't get tattooed every now and then, or if I don't stretch something every now and then, I get a little bit stir crazy. I, I, I need to do this stuff to be content. So for me, it's a hobby. So it's the perfect thing for me to do. So I have no regrets over the blackout. And even though it's not a full blackout and everybody or a lot of people assumed that it was going to be, and those are the same people who are confused now to see me adding new tattoos over tattoos I covered. I never planned to necessarily do a full blackout tattoo. It was just the next step or a higher learning. I've always said blackout tattoos are college to regular tattoos in terms of how you take care of them and how they live and how you wear them, all the complications, getting them done and healing them. It's all just a lot more intense than regular tattoos are to deal with, and therefore I guess so should the reaction from the public. Because obviously most people know me because of them. Where once I started getting into this stuff, that's when I started to go viral all over Instagram and TikTok and all of these other things. I got the Unilad video feature, and Inked Magazine wanted to do a shoot with me, and I did the Renez interview, and all of these different things were made possible generally because of the prevalence of the black tattoos. So as much hate as you get that back in love as well. Where with more traditional tattoos, it's been seen before, it's been done before, and so is black, but for whatever reason, this is a new idea for most of the social conscience, and so it spreads like wildfire. And I'm not saying I don't enjoy that to some extent, but I wasn't really looking for that sort of reaction. I was just interested in taking my body mod tattoo experience to the next level and continuing my tattoo work, and that's what I've done. So anyway, I hope this video has been instructive in some way. So I got a bit of a rant as I always do, and have a great day.